Hey class, in this video we are now going to use the print module to create what is called a print file that will be used to send to a print lab so you can order your prints. In the previous video we created a print collection with several images in there in order to create a contact sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and if you haven't done this part yet, please watch the other videos creating a print collection and then the print module for contact sheet in order to get up to this point to watch this video. I'm going to click on that print collection and now I'm going to go to the print module. Based upon that last video, we were able to create this print layout based upon using a combination of zoom to fill, rotate to fit, and then margins, left, right, top, and bottom, and creating this grid by putting 3 rows and 3 columns. That's how you get multiple images to appear in one sheet. And also you must select this all film strip photos so that way it'll place everything in your film strip which is based upon that collection to appear on the sheet. If there's an image you don't want to appear in here, then you can just click on that image and delete it from the collection. And then of course going back to this area under layout, there's the cell spacing. We put that to 0, so there's no, if you wanted a gap in between any of this, you can put a little bit of spacing if you wanted to. That's kind of up to you. That's sort of nice actually. You could do that if you wanted to. We'll just go ahead and leave it that way. That's kind of nice. And then the cell size, this is the size of each individual cell here. That was already set in the previous video. Okay. Now let's go ahead and create this print file so we could send this to a print lab and order a print. So under the very bottom right of the print module, there's going to be a section called print job. So scroll all the way down there and then make sure that the print to is, you select not a printer, you're going to select a JPEG file. If you were at school and you were going to print this directly to one of the printers in Digipix, you would then be printing using the printer option, and there'll be a different video for that. But for this, we're actually creating a print file because we're going to send this over to a lab and order a print. So we want to print to a JPEG, meaning it's going to take this layout based upon our specifications and create a file, a electronic version of this to be sent, right? A digital file, a JPEG file. We do not want to check draft mode printing. That's unchecked. Your resolution may say 300 ppi, or maybe it'll say 240 by default. You can change it to 300 pixels per inch. That is the resolution that you want when you are dealing with prints. You want it to be at 300 pixels per inch. 240 is the default that Lightroom sometimes puts on there. That's also fine, but I just go ahead and put 300. Now for sharpening, I tend to not want to add any more, because when you click on sharpening, and if you say you want to put more sharpening, you don't really see it. It's not a preview in here. If you wanted to sharpen your image, you should do that in develop module. So for now, I just leave it as low. That's fine. And the media type. Now, it only gives you 2 options, glossy or matte. And those are the 2 basic families of papers. There's iterations, nuances within the glossy family and within the matte, but either your paper is going to have some reflective quality, whether it's high or low, but if there is some reflective quality, that's going to be in the glossy family. And if your paper is going to be matte that has no reflective quality whatsoever, then that's the option you want to choose. For now, for this particular reference test, you're going to go ahead and select glossy. That doesn't mean you have to order a glossy paper, when you finally make that order, you just got to make sure you order the paper that's within the glossy family, such as luster, pearl, or satin, or high glossy itself. Then we go to JPEG quality, 100%. Okay, we will skip custom file dimensions because we already set this file up to 8.5 by 11 under the page setup button in the previous videos. And here, color management. This is where it's important that you need to select the appropriate profile. Here is where you want to select the profile that the print lab will support. Now, Adobe RGB and the sRGB are the two color profiles that you're going to select. Most printers, print labs, should be able to support Adobe RGB, and you can go look up in their FAQs what colors, it's called a color space or color profile that their printers and their papers support. If they say select sRGB, then you'd go ahead and do that. But you definitely want to select Adobe RGB if they do support that, because it's a larger color space. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. If you were to be printing this image in Digipix, meaning you weren't doing a print to file, you were going to go straight to the printer, you would then be selecting a profile that you could download from the internet that is based upon your paper and printer combination. So that's a whole other process, but that is another level of accuracy if you have control of the print. And but for now, we're not actually going to be printing it ourselves. We're actually sending it over to a lab, so we have to abide by whatever their profiles that they support. But in our labs, we have papers that you could use, and we have profiles that you could select from, and that's where you would select it in here. You would select the appropriate profile for your particular paper, right? But for now, for this example, it's going to be Adobe RGB, and hopefully that lab that you're going to select should support this profile, all right? Here for the rendering intent, perceptual or relative, this is how you want colors to be rendered if they're out of what's called gamut, or the color, the range of colors that is represented in the Adobe RGB color space. For now, let's leave everything as perceptual because it will keep colors that are not within the color space of Adobe RGB. It will at least look like the colors, make it look natural on your photograph. So we'll just go ahead and leave it as perceptual for now. Okay. Then once that's all set, you can go ahead and hit print to file. When you click on that, it's going to prompt you, where do you want to save this JPEG? This is going to be a high resolution JPEG that you're going to want to that can be sent to a printer, a print lab, so you can order a print. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. I'm going to call this print to file. Hit create. And this one I'm going to call this contact sheet. Right? And I'm going to hit save. Up here on the upper left, it's going to process. It is going to take all these images, place them on an 8.5 by 11 sized file, and then place the tiles and thumbnails accordingly, and create the margins, make it a high resolution, 300 pixels per inch with Adobe RGB profile. And once that's generated, it will appear on my desktop as a JPEG, and then I can go ahead and send it to a print lab. Now it's done. Nothing's happened after it's done. That's okay. I'm going to go into my Finder window. I'm going to go to desktop. I created this print to file folder, and there's my contact sheet. This is now, if you see it, 2550 by 3,300 pixels. This is 8.5 by 11 US letter, and the resolution is 300 pixels per inch with the Adobe RGB profile. I can now use this JPEG and send it to Print Labs, and they will generate and create this print for me. You must order the same paper size as this image was created. Remember, this was an 8.5 by 11, a US letter, and we put our own margins in here already. When you order this online, you must order an 8.5 by 11 in order for this image to print properly. If they do not have 8.5 by 11, let's say they only have 8 by 10, then you're going to have to go in here and make an adjustment. Instead of selecting 8.5 by 11, you got to select 8 by 10 or create a new 8 by 10 page, and then regenerate this file, and then create the print file, and then order it accordingly. Right, so again, you must select the right paper size from the printer based upon the paper size you created in your print file. Now, I created this print file for this contact sheet, but what if you wanted to just create a print file for one image? Okay, that's fine. As I was doing this video, I realized that I used the same print collection that I created earlier for a single print. Now I've used it for multiple prints. Okay, that's all right. What I want to do is I'm going to just create a new print collection. It's easier because I don't want to have to recreate this thing all over again because it's a little more complicated. So I'm going to go back to my grid module, and I'm going to select that print that I wanted to make a single print on, but I got to make sure I'm not selecting this print collection, because if I go in here, it's going to take me to this pre-existing collection, right? I want to go back to the collection itself, click on that image, then click on print collection, and notice now it's asking me to save this as a new print collection. That's what I want. I want to create a new one. So I'm going to hit create, save print, and I'm going to say single image as the name, and I want to put it inside the same collection, and I want to select only the one I'm highlighting, which is this one. I'm going to hit create. Notice now I have this thing called print single image 1. That's this one. If I hit G, I'm in the grid module under this print single image collection. Notice that's the only one in there. I'm going to go to the print module now, and I'm going to do the same steps as I did in the print module video, and that is page setup. I go in here, I'm going to select my custom 8.5 by 11 that I created in the previous video, and I'm going to add on the right side, I don't have to rotate to fit. Maybe I want margins, I think I wanted 0.25 on left and right, and I think that was it. So now I just created a new print collection just for one image. It's not a contact sheet, and now I want to send this to a printer as well, a print lab. So the same exact steps. I'm going to go to the bottom right here on the print job. I make sure I select JPEG and 300 pixels per inch. Print sharpening is low, glossy. I want Adobe RGB for the maximum color space, perceptual rendering intent, and now I'm going to hit print to file. It's going to prompt me to save this file, and it's going to prompt me in the same location where I saved the other one. Maybe I'm going to call this one Montana, because that will just give me a better clue of what this is. And I think a good practice would be, I'm going to put US letter as the description also as well. That tells me it's 8.5 by 11 of this print file. I'm going to hit save. You don't have to put .jpeg. You could, but it'll automatically do it for you once you hit save. And it's preparing the file. Now it's done. I'm going to go into my desktop, print to file, and there's the Montana US letter. And this is ready for me to send to a printer. And this is how it's going to look when they receive the file, and that's how it's going to look when they print it. You're going to get these white borders based upon your margin settings, and it'll come out exactly like this. Similar to the contact sheet, you will get these white borders. You will get maybe if you decided to place any cell spacing, you'll get that as well, and it'll come out exactly like this. If there's a problem with the image, that you get some sort of cropping that you didn't know about, that's because you most likely you ordered an 8.5 by 11, or you sent them an 8.5 by 11 file and ordered an 8 by 10 print. So that would actually crop your image. So it's important that you match the paper size to what you actually order. Let's do that. If that's an issue, like if that's like this one right here is 8.5 by 11. If you know that this is supposed to be 8 by 10, maybe you need to create another print collection. I'm going to go back in here. And let's say I'm going to pick this one, and let's say it has to. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a new print collection. Click on. I'm going to call this one print single image 8 by 10, just to give it a better description. Okay, I'm going to keep everything the same, put it in A03, and I'm going to select this image only, create OK. Notice now it's created this print collection with one image in it. Now I'm going to go in here and click on page setup. I need to create a new one called 8 by 10. So I'll go in here and select the manage custom sizes. I'm going to click on this untitled and say 8 by 10, no margins, so I have more control of that. And I'm going to make sure that I actually give it an 8 by 10. So I'm going to 8 inches wide by 10 inches height. And 0 margins all over here. And I'm going to hit OK. And once again, to get there, you select on paper size and it's like manage custom sizes. And these are the two that I have created so far. I hit OK. It kind of shrank a little bit. I don't know if you saw that, but in terms of cropping, there is no cropping because I didn't want this thing to be zoomed to fill. So if I uncheck this rotate to fit, I don't need that anymore. If I click on zoom to fill, notice that it would kind of maximize the space, and I could zero out the oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay, I zero out the margins, but then I also maximize the cell size, and then it would be a print to bleed, which is kind of a cool print, but I don't want my image to be cropped. And if you were to window mat this, the window mat would kind of cut into your image and for framing. So I don't want to zoom to fill, and I definitely would like to have some sort of margins on either side there. So if that's the case where you're ordering, the print lab doesn't have an 8.5 by 11, you got to order 8 by 10. This is what you got to do. You got to choose the page setup, and you may have to create your own 8 by 10 and then select that. So now I'm going to go ahead, and everything else has been the same here. I'm going to select, oh, this thing changes, interesting. Oh, print to file, print to JPEG file, and then make sure I have Adobe RGB in the profile. Everything else is the same there. And then I'm going to hit print to file, and I'm going to go give it Cuba license plate, and I'm going to say 8 by 10. Okay. Okay, so now we have 3 different print collections here, right? And one more thing, if you wanted to duplicate any of these, like for the reasons of oh, I need to order this print in a different paper size because they don't have 8.5 by 11, you can select this print collection and then get into your secondary menu, and you're going to select duplicate this print. So what it's going to do is create another print collection with all of the same images and all of the same settings, and that way you can now modify that one and just change the paper size. So let's go ahead and do that. So it called it print copy. I'm going to right click in there and I'm going to just rename this, and I'm going to call this one print contact sheet 8 by 10, just in case that you run into a lab but they don't have 8.5 by 11. And then I'm going to rename the other one, just call it contact sheet. So I'm going to go into the print contact sheet 8 by 10. I'm in the print module already now, and I want to make sure I select the right paper size. And I already created that 8 by 10, so I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to hit OK. Notice that it barely did anything. It slightly changed the size just slightly, but everything else still intact. Now I can actually just hit print a file on the right side, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to call this one contact sheet 8 by 10. And now the print module is processing and working in creating this print file with all of these images with this particular paper size that we just changed to. And now it's about done. I'm going to go into my desktop here, and there is that contact sheet that's 8 by 10 that I can order from a print lab. And there you have it, creating a print file using the print module in order to prepare a photograph to be ordered from a print lab.